Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Diana, and I am one of two new vendor and small business specialists for commodity procurement program within agricultural marketing services at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA. Today, my counterpart, Andrea, and I will be presenting on how to become an approved vendor for the USDA Foods Program. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, and we will open it up for questions at the end of the presentation. So let's first begin with what Commodity Procurement Program is all about. USDA's Agricultural Marketing Services, or AMS, purchases over 3 billion of American-grown food in various forms and pack sizes, from livestock, poultry, fish, fruits, vegetables, dairy, grain, and oilseed. These purchases not only support American agriculture, but feed millions of school children, families, and other qualified individuals through USDA's Nutrition Assistance and International Food Aid programs. All the products we purchase must be 100% domestically produced and processed. And since supporting American agriculture is central to our program mission, AMS will only purchase products which can be sourced domestically. We purchase truckload quantities for delivery to destinations, and the commodities that we purchase must be available in sufficient volume in order to meet the needs of national programs. So now let's go more in depth into learning about the process of becoming an approved vendor. The new vendor process can be broken down into 7 different steps. We will briefly go over the AMS master solicitation. We'll review product specifications and what happens after you become an approved vendor. Our focus, however, will be on step 3 and what AMS requires of our potential and new vendors, and exactly what you need to do to get your vendor application approved. The AMS Master Solicitation for Commodity Procurement is the main body of every single contract awarded by AMS. It details the Federal Acquisition Regulation, commonly referred to as FAR, and it includes clauses and provisions governing federal procurements, such as financial capabilities, small business subcontracting, pre-bid certifications, product traceability, and much more. This is the contract document. We ask that you please know what it says and be aware that by submitting an offer to AMS, you are confirming that you meet all of the requirements that are laid out in this master solicitation. Please read it, understand it, and if you have any questions at all, please contact the contracting officer to receive clarification. Additionally, you will notice throughout this presentation that we list and read the FAR clauses that support why we request certain items for your vendor application package. A good way to find out if commodity procurement is indeed a good fit for your company is by thoroughly reviewing the USDA commodity specifications. These can be located on our website. It is critical that you understand the technical requirements before you begin the new vendor process. USDA takes product integrity very seriously, and we expect that our vendors supply product that consistently meet the quality and safety expectations of our customers. The specifications detail technical requirements for the product and production, including raw materials, formulation, packaging and packing, inspection and certification requirements, and much more. These detailed specifications ensure that USDA gets the same quality end product under every single contract, regardless of which supplier is being awarded. Sometimes we might make changes to our technical requirements for our products. These are called amendments, which we link under the specification. Please take the time to review any associated amendments included with the product specification. Now, while you may not be able to see it very well on this slide, we would be remiss if we did not mention the updated new vendor qualification requirement checklist. This checklist has been revised to include all of the administrative and technical requirements that are needed to become approved. It also includes 2 addendums, a list of products and material codes that commodity procurement purchases, and a directory for the various program areas that you will need to contact in order to schedule any audits or inspections that are needed to fulfill that technical requirement. In order to receive a copy of this checklist, please email Andrea or myself at the new vendor email, which is newvendor@usda.gov. Again, that is newvendor@usda.gov. And so now that we've gone over these first 2 steps, we're going to delve more into the administrative process of becoming a vendor. So here, step 3 focuses on the administrative paperwork, which begins with the System for Award Management, or SAM. SAM is a federal government-owned and operated free website. Every vendor who wants to participate in a federal government procurement must be registered in SAM. You can also register your company in SAM as a small business, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, a hub zone, or an 8A. Please note that if you are interested in receiving small disadvantaged business, hub zone, or 8A certifications, you will need to refer separately to the Small Business Administration to complete that process. While SAM registration is only needed to be done once, you must update or renew your registration annually. There is no fee to register your company in SAM. The system is completely free, so please be aware of similar systems that will charge a hefty fee. If you happen to run into some trouble as you register in SAM, there is a help tab on SAM's main page, which features frequently asked questions, user guides, and helpful hints. You can also contact the SAM help desk at their phone number 1-866-606-8220 and select option 1. Again, that is 1-866-606-8220 and select option 1. A great contact to help you register your company in SAM are Apex Accelerators, which are formerly known as Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, or PTACs. And there are more than 90 Apex accelerators assisting businesses in 49 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas, and in regions established by the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the U.S. Department of the Interior. Apex accelerators provide free counseling and training for vendors that want to do business with the government. And one of the greatest things about Apex accelerators is their free help with SAM registration. They even have a webpage highlighting their assistance with SAM, including general tips and even some videos. Now, next in our package here is the WebSCM, or WBSCM, vendor registration form, which is needed to create a user profile and grant access to the WBSCM system once you're approved as a vendor. We ask that you please select only one commodity group on the form, as there is a new vendor probationary period where a new vendor is only awarded up to 10 truckloads in their first contract. Now, you must also include a company letter certifying the company's performance, telling us about your company and what products you're interested in selling to USDA. Your letter should include a brief history of the company, mentioning satisfactory record of integrity, business ethics, and listing the material codes, pack sizes, and your company's capacity on the letter. The material and material codes can be found on the commodity procurement website on the Purchase Programs Awards and Solicitations webpage. The letter must be signed and on company letterhead, and if needed, a sample letter can be provided upon request. We will also need 3 reference letters from satisfied customers on letterhead, signed with a phone number and an address for verification purposes, and a statement mentioning how satisfied your client was with the products or services that you sold them. A sample letter can also be provided upon request. Now, for determining contractor responsibility, the contracting officer will pull a contractor responsibility assessment report, or CRA, from Fed Data Check. A vendor must have a unique entity identifier, or UEI, and must be active on SAM to pull the CRA report, which is why it is essential for your company to be successfully registered in SAM. An important reminder here is that we require the legal name of your company in every piece of documentation. Your legal company name should match the company name registered with your state, and you can easily verify your company name by visiting your Secretary of State's website. Now, if you're a non-manufacturer, we will require some additional information from you. Non-manufacturers that use suppliers or manufacturers must submit a supplier letter. This is a letter from the manufacturer and supplier stating it is willing to provide product that meets the commodity specifications. The letter must be on your supplier's letterhead and include the material code and description of the product. The letter should be signed by both you, the non-manufacturer, and your supplier. Non-manufacturers will also need to submit a complaint and dispute resolution proposal agreement. This is an agreement between yourself and your supplier that should something happen to the product, for example, if we need a replacement or a reimbursement, then the proposal will list out what both parties have agreed to do in order to resolve the issue. And once you've gone down the list and checked each item off, we ask that you please send in the completed administrative paperwork to our email, which is newvendor@usda.gov. Again, that is newvendor@usda.gov. Andrea and myself process all the new vendor applications, and we work with the approving contracting officers in reviewing the vendor qualifications. After this administrative paperwork package is submitted to the approving contracting officer, they will pull a CRA report in Fed Data Check to determine contractor responsibility. If any documents are missing or incomplete, we will inform you via email or phone. So please make sure that your contact information is current and correct. Once your administrative paperwork has been submitted, you will receive an email from the senior contracting officer. The email will detail that your paperwork is being reviewed, and you will now need to complete the technical requirements for your commodity. That same email will include the AMS auditing and inspections points of contact, which are also listed on the new vendor checklist. Please note that it is the vendor's responsibility to contact the respective program areas in order to schedule any audits or inspections, and all requirements must be met prior to the bid opening date. Now, once you have completed the administrative and the technical requirements, you will receive an additional email from our senior contracting officer stating that you are now an approved vendor. Next, we will have the WBSCM team upload your form into the system. Once that occurs, you will receive another email, this time from the WBSCM help desk, asking for additional information to be filled out and submitted. Please read this email. It is your lifeline into our system, and if the information requested by our WBSCM team is not submitted in a timely manner, it may end up holding up the process for you to submit bids. If you have any WBSCM questions or need assistance, please feel free to contact the WBSCM help desk at wbscm-ams-helpdesk@usda.gov. Again, that email is wbscm-ams-helpdesk@usda.gov. So in this handy email the WBSCM team sends you, there is a description on how to sign up for GovDelivery. And GovDelivery is our emailing list So by subscribing to our email updates, you will receive information on solicitations, any specification changes that we've made, and so on. It is the best way to stay up to date on our contracts. If you have maybe more technical questions or questions on the contract itself, we ask that you please refer to the appropriate contracting specialist, which can be found on the bid invitation. So now that we have gone over this updated new vendor process, I will turn it over to my counterpart, Andrea, who will address some questions we have received during the webinar registration process.
Thanks, Deanna. So like she said, when we did the webinar invite, we asked for folks to submit some questions. We received a bunch of great responses. So we selected some of those and decided to answer them in this section. If your question wasn't answered, don't worry. We're going to take a look at those individually and we will be reaching out to you. So the first question is, I am a vendor for the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP, Fresh Produce Package. Am I eligible to bid on other commodities? That's a great question. And for those of you who don't know, to provide a bit of background, the TFAP Fresh Produce Package was created in 2021 and distributes boxes of fresh fruits and vegetables to recipients in the TFAP program. There are different requirements for the TFAP Fresh Produce Package than our USDA Foods program. Therefore, if you were approved for the TFAP Fresh Produce Package, but not for USDA Foods, you only were interested in TFAP Fresh Produce, you will need to apply separately to the USDA Foods program. And to do this, please email the new vendor email, which is, as you've stated, newvendor@usda.gov to get started. If you're interested in participating in the TFAP Fresh Produce Package, we do have a separate inbox for that program that we monitor. We have that separate inbox so we can just keep track of those participants separately. That email is tfapfreshproduce@usda.gov. Once again, that's tfap, TEFAP, freshproduce@usda.gov. Okay. Next question. How much does a company have to profit annually to certify? So there is no profit threshold a company must meet to qualify as a new vendor. However, I would strongly suggest that you review our purchase programs, solicitations, and awards webpage. We provided the link in the presentation, and we also provide the link in the initial email that Deanna and I will send to you that lists out all the new vendor steps. On the purchase program, solicitation, and awards webpage, we have bid invitations, bid awards, and the purchase award descriptions, or PCA reports. And I highly recommend reviewing those documents to gain a better understanding of the dollar amounts of the contracts, the competitors' bids, and the volume of product we're expecting your company to deliver. So the bid invitations that we post, they provide information on how long the bid is open. If there is a small business set aside attached to that bid invitation, the quantities we're requesting, the delivery locations, and the delivery timeframes. The bid awards that are posted display the top 3 bidders and their bid amounts. And the PCA report provides details of the contracts that were awarded. So please take the time to review all 3 of those documents to make sure that this is a good fit for your company. Our company is registered, but that individual is no longer here. How do I change our contact without knowing the credentials? It's a great question. So if your company is still active in WBSEM, which means your company annually logs into WBSEM and submit bids, you're actively participating, then all you would need to do in this scenario is contact the WBSEM help desk, which is WBSEM AMS help desk at USDA.gov, and explain that the person in charge of the company's account is no longer with the company and that new users will need to be established in WBSCM. Now, if it has been 3 or more years since your company has done business with USDA, and now you need access to WBSCM, then the scenario is a little different. You will need to provide us with proof of an updated SAM registration, a new WBSCM vendor registration form, and be up to date on the technical requirements. So after we receive all of that information, we will request that the new user and the company be reinstated as active. Now, if this registration, because the question was a little vague, if the registration is in regards to SAM, for example, System for Award Management, and the individual that ran your entity account in SAM is no longer with the company, then unfortunately, because SAM is not run by USDA, but by General Services Administration, GSA, which is a separate government agency, you will need to contact them for assistance, the SAM help desk, and that is 1-866-606-8220, option 1. Next question. Actually, we received a couple questions on this. How quickly can we register? Are we able to both register and bid on contracts this spring? Well, it depends on several factors. Primarily, it depends on you as the vendor. It is essential to follow the instructions and the guidance that Deanna and I provide you in all of the emails that we send. We know it's a lot of information, but it's essential for you to read through that, follow that guidance, be proactive in scheduling your audits and inspections. Remember, the vendor process is a 2-step process. So first, you're going to receive that email from the senior contracting officer stating they reviewed your paperwork, and you can now move on to step 2, which is completing the technical requirements. And the contact information for the folks you need to get in touch with to schedule the audits and inspections can be found in that second email. So it's really important that you take the time to read through the instructions, to contact the various program areas, and schedule those audits. If you wanted to put a number on it, the whole process, we can guesstimate that on average, it can take maybe like a month to 2 months to go through both the administrative and the technical. But again, that is a very rough estimate. Each vendor is different, and therefore the time frame is going to be different. Okay. When I try to register, the site stated our company is registered but inactive. How do I activate our registration? Well, again, that depends on if you're referring to SAM or WebSCM. So if you remember a couple slides earlier, we mentioned that what you would need to do if you have been locked out of WebSCM. And if you remember, if it's been 3 or more years since you've been active in WebSCM, we will need you to make sure you have active SAM registration, completing the new vendor registration form, and meeting those technical requirements. Now, if your company is inactive in SAM, then you're going to need to renew your entity registration. And on the SAM homepage, there is a tab on the right-hand side that you can click on to renew your entity. And again, if you run into problems, you can contact the SAM help desk, or I would recommend contacting your local Apex Accelerator for assistance. And just remember that you must have an active SAM registration to become approved to be a vendor. That's essential because if you recall, our contracting officers use that unique entity identifier and your active SAM registration to pull a CRA report. I love this question. How user-friendly is the application process? So we are taking great strides to try to make the new vendor application process as user-friendly as possible. That initial email that you get from myself or Deanna is information overload. We definitely understand that. We just ask that you read through the requirements and take it one step at a time. Like we said in this presentation, we have examples of company letter and customer references that can be provided. If you have more questions about the process, Deanna and I are happy to meet with you. That's our role with commodity procurement. We are here to help you through the process. So we're happy to meet with you and answer your questions. Will this be a benefit for a wholesaler? So I chose this question because I think there are pros and cons for any type of business, not just a wholesaler, to become an approved vendor with USDA Foods. For a wholesaler, you may be able to bid on more products after that probationary period that you will recall, but you will need to ensure that your growers and suppliers meet those technical requirements. So that may seem like it may be a little more to juggle than one vendor who's a manufacturer and produces the products. But again, I think for any vendor, it's so important to make sure that the USDA Foods program is a right fit for your business. So, take the time to do the research, look at the websites, talk to Deanna and I, because we wouldn't want you to go through this entire process and then you think, oh, I can't meet this spec or I can't meet this truckload. We want to make sure that this is beneficial to you as well as our customers. Okay, next question. Do the fruits and vegetables have to be certified organic? No, they do not have to be certified organic, the fruits and vegetables that we purchase. And I think the best way to stay up to date and informed on product requirements would be to review the USDA commodity specifications and ensure that you can meet the product quality standards. And if you recall, I think it was one of the first few slides in this presentation, we have a link to the USDA commodity specification webpage. How do I check for opportunities that are applicable to my products? Great question. As we mentioned in the presentation, the best way to look for bidding opportunities is to sign up to our GovDelivery system. By signing up, you will receive emails on bid invitations, product specification changes, and more. Another great example would be when we talk about the and more, would be changes to the new vendor process. Recently we got rid of, rather than asking for audited or reviewed financials, we're pulling a CRA report. We're going to be sending a GovDelivery about that. So that's a great example of what, staying up to date with the USDA Foods program. If you email the new vendor email, and again, that's newvendor@usda.gov, we can provide instructions on how to sign up for GovDelivery. Are vendors of a specialty food product accepted? For example, my company has a product that is not available from a competitor. So if you email the new vendor email, we can provide you with a list of the different commodities and pack sizes we purchase. If you go through that list and you do not see the product or pack size you manufacture listed, then I would highly suggest reaching out to Food Nutrition Service or FNS. FNS is our sister agency, and they determine what product CPP purchases. So to get your product considered, if you don't see that listed on the Excel sheet we send you, please email USDAfoods@usda.gov. Once again, that's USDAfoods@usda.gov. And there you can talk to them about introducing your product into the program. And we can also provide you with a website, which is called How to Get Your Product Considered. But long story short, if it's a new product that we don't purchase, Food Nutrition Service is the department to go to within USDA. What is the minimum unit required to participate? So the minimum amount for a company to participate is 1 commercial truckload. If your company can handle 1 commercial truckload, that is the minimum requirement that we ask. If you don't think your company can meet that requirement, don't panic. We have other programs that you can participate in that would be a better fit for you. The two programs that I have in mind are the Local Foods for Schools or the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement. Those are programs where you can deliver locally and within your state. If you want more information on those two programs, please email the new vendor email, newvendor@usda.gov. We can provide you with the websites for those two programs so you can learn more about it and give you the contact information for your state representative. You would need to contact your state to be part of that program. Can you please explain USDA's requirements as it relates to subcontracting? Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to go back here because, no, I'm not. Sorry. Can you please explain USDA's requirements as it relates to subcontracting? Subcontracting. So when we talk about subcontracting, there's two different ways in which we can think about that. So the first way you can subcontract would be with one of our approved vendors. When we talk about subcontracting in this capacity, we are referring to a partnership that you establish with one of our approved vendors. And rather than going through the bidding process yourself, you would simply provide product to the approved vendor, and they would go ahead and submit the bid. Now, when you work in this capacity, you don't have to go through the administrative requirements, but you would have to meet those technical requirements. This is a way for some of our smaller folks or folks who don't think they can meet that commercial truckload or don't think they can meet some of those administrative requirements. This is another great way to participate in our programs. To get contact information for our approved vendors, that can be found on the Qualified Bidders List or QBL. And the QBL can be found at the bottom of the Purchase Program Solicitations and Awards webpage. Now, there is a whole other definition of subcontracting that we talk about, and that is the subcontracting requirements, which is listed out in the FAR, where large businesses that are awarded a contract more than $750,000 must subcontract with small businesses. I'm not going to get into all of that. If you want to learn more about that type of subcontracting, we do have a recorded webinar that can be found on our new vendor webpage that talks about all of that type of subcontracting when it comes to large businesses subcontracting with small businesses. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend checking out that webinar. All right, next question. How do we get new items approved? So if you're already an approved USDA vendor and want to provide new products, you will first need to make sure your plant has had the necessary inspections and food defense audit. If you need to contact the correct person, you need to find that person to get that inspections, the audits. You want to let folks know that you want to add new items to your repertoire, then please email our new vendor email, and we can forward you along to our program areas to get you started on those inspections. Once you and your facilities have completed those inspections, you passed your inspections and audits, then the contracting officer will get involved and approve your company for that new product you want to provide. And then after the approval, everyone says, okay, you're good to go. All you need to do would be add that plant information, if it's a different plant, into WebSCM, and then make sure you email the WebSCM help desk so they can approve that specific plant, or so that they are aware that there's a new product that you want to add to your list, to your I can't think of the word, to your account. That's what it is. All right. Last question. What if we only have 2 letters of references versus 3? So unfortunately, we do need 3 letters of reference as part of the package. We can't get through with only 2. We would need 3. In this situation, our contracting officer might recommend that you gain some more experience with the private industry to garner more customers and experience. So that took care of all the questions that you have. If after this presentation you have another question or want to learn more, or anything that we've, talk about anything we've discussed today, please feel free to contact myself or my counterpart at the new vendor email, which is newvendor@usda.gov. I think Deanna and I are in that more than our personal email. And there's our contacts and the products that we look out for. So even though we went over some questions, we're going to open up the floor for any other questions that you might have that might have come up regarding how to become a new vendor. So let me take a look. We got a couple questions about if the slide deck and the slide and recording is going to be posted. Yes, we will be posting this presentation and providing the slide deck to those who registered. It will be posted on YouTube and also the new vendor webpage. Okay. Here's a question. Are finished products such as snack sticks eligible for this program? I think we do have some finished products, that's for sure. Again, I think the best way to look at that would be to look at the list of products that we purchase. If you want to go ahead and email the new vendor email, we can provide you with that list. If you don't see anything like that, then we obviously don't purchase it, and then we can get you in touch with the food nutrition service. So next question. I'm a small meat processor in Tennessee. Is there a minimum amount of protein I have to process before I am qualified to be an approved vendor? And if so, how much? Again, we talked about the one commercial truckload that would be for like one shipment. So if you get a bid invitation and you can only submit, you can only do one truckload and you want to submit a bid for that one truckload, that would be that. So, and I believe for meat processing, depending on the bid invitation, those go out monthly. So if you can only do one truckload per month, that's totally fine if you're awarded that. If you can only do a couple truckloads a year, then you can select which bid invitations you want to submit a bid on. And again, I would really recommend taking a look at our commodity specifications and at our purchase program award page and take a look at the quantities that we're requesting, the delivery timeframes, where we're delivering it, so you can kind of get a feel for what the size of the contract will be. Okay. So someone says, you mentioned 7 steps in the process, but you only covered 4. What are the last 3? Well, let's go back to that and let's see what they are. Oops. Okay, so get started, 7 steps. So let's say you're brand new. So we talked about the master solicitation, that's step 1, product specification, step 2. We talked about step 3 a lot, which is the administrative paperwork, and step 4, which is getting that technical portion approved. Remember, it's a 2-step process. Once you get approved, it's time to take a look at the solicitation or bid invitation, sharpen your pencil, meaning you get ready to submit a bid, you take a look at WebSCM, you practice submitting bids at their practice site. Step 6, you would go ahead and submit your offer in WebSCM. And then step 7 is, congratulations, you got an award, you deliver the product, you submit your invoice in WebSCM, and you get paid. So those are the 7 steps. Okay. Are there any examples you can provide for the technical proposal? So we can't provide examples for the technical proposal because the technical proposal is particular to the livestock and poultry program program area. So what we can do is get you in touch with the program area specialists, and they can talk to you about what is needed for the technical proposal. Okay, if you're working to set up a new USDA cut facility and food processing entity, at what point do you need to begin the application process? Do we need to be operating for a number of months, or would we be able to establish ourselves as a vendor from the first day our doors are open? We've been in conversations with local schools and nonprofit organizations supporting local food and have commitments to purchase once we are established. So this is a great question. If you're brand new to, you haven't opened your doors yet, then I don't think that the USDA Foods Program would be a good fit for you yet. And that's because of the requirements that we have, such as, I think one thing that would get you kind of stuck would be like customer references. How can you have customers if you don't have your processing facility started yet? So that would be something where if you're already talking with local schools and nonprofit organizations, I would highly recommend, I think the local Food for Schools and the local purchase cooperative agreement program would be fantastic ideas for you to pursue. And so we can definitely provide you those two websites and the contact information for your state. Looks like you're already taking strides to get that completed. So I would go ahead and pursue that. And I think once you are established, you have your customers, you've got, you've been in business for a while, please come back to the USDA Foods Program and think about joining. We never outright reject somebody and say you can never reapply. We always just say garner some more experience, and then come back. Okay. Next question. Can you repeat the phone number for GSA? Want to make sure I have it down accurately. Absolutely. That is 1-866-606-8220. And you would select option 1. And again, we'll have this posted. So you will have the number there, and also email the new vendor email and we can give you that number too. Okay, next question. And if you hear squeaking in the background, I'm really sorry. That's my dog. He's playing with his toy. What is considered a truckload? How many pounds? That's a great question, and it really depends on the product. So each product is going to have a different poundage. We do have a solicitation schedule that will list out the pounds. I would also recommend taking a look at the bid invitations, because you will see how many pounds would be a commercial truckload. Okay, next question. What is the YouTube channel? We will be able to find this on afterwards. So it's a YouTube channel that I don't think you can find I've tried to find it on my own. It's directly linked to our new vendor webpage. So I would suggest going to the new vendor webpage and going ahead and clicking on the link when we get this posted. We'll have it listed out, and then it'll automatically take you to the YouTube page. Okay. Here's another question. If the supplier letters I submit at time of at registration and we are approved, then at any time, a time of bid later in the year, we need to partner. Okay. So the question is, if a vendor provides supplier letters at the time of registration and everything's approved, and then maybe later on you go ahead and submit a bid, but you need to partner with a different supplier, would you submit a new letter with our bid? Yes, but you would not submit the supplier letter with the bid. What you would need to do is, like, let's say you're approved and something with your current supplier didn't work out. and you have a new supplier and you want to go ahead and use them. Get in touch with us, the new vendor email, because then you would need to submit a new supplier letter. And then we will get you in touch with the program areas and make sure that that new supplier meets our specifications and stuff. I would not recommend submitting it at the time of your bid, because if that supplier hasn't met those technical requirements, then the bid would be deemed non-responsive and you wouldn't be awarded. So definitely check with us beforehand and submit that supplier letter. Okay. And I don't see any other questions. Let's see, what time is it? It's about 2:45. I thought this was going to take a lot longer, but looks like it didn't. So again, if you guys have any other questions, just let us know. And please email the new vendor email. Let me go ahead and put that back. Oh, oops. There we go. So there's our email. Feel free to email us if something comes to you later on. Thank you so much for participating today. It was wonderful. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and keep an eye out in the next few weeks for the posting of this recorded webinar. Thanks, everyone.